Hi everyone, Paul here. I encountered a bit of a setback working on the Majestic, and I thought I might be able to use it as a teaching moment. The cap band on the cap broke while I was working on the pen and came off. As you can see, it split and it came off. That's purely my fault. The cap band was loose, and I wanted to see if there was a chance that I might be able to slide it off. But the band itself is very, very thin. The metal is really thin, and it was very fragile, and it split. So unfortunately, I now have a cap with no band unless I can find a replacement. I'm going to keep the band in case, if nothing else, because it's really cool looking. But there's no way to save this. But I thought I'd use this as an opportunity to explain how cap bands are attached to vintage fountain pens. And I created a little short video to explain the process. With vintage fountain pens, the method that manufacturers used to attach cap bands was a metallurgical technique called swaging. When the cap is manufactured, a groove is cut near the open end that this is the same width as the cap band. The cap band is cut from a length of metal tube. Its diameter is slightly larger than the diameter of the cap. This allows the cap band to be slid over the cap, like so. Then pressure is applied equally all around the cap band. This causes the metal to compress, and the band shrinks until it fits snugly in the groove. The result is a cap band that is firmly secured to the pen. If you're restoring a fountain pen and the cap band is loose, like for example as it is on this Wherever lever filler, that is, you can rotate it freely on the cap, but it's not coming off, then leave it on. What you'll need to do is put some masking tape or other protective tape over the band so that when you're using your micro mesh to sand the cap itself, the abrasives on the micro mesh won't scratch the surface of the cap band. Then when you're done polishing the cap, then you can remove the tape and polish the band using semi-chrome or other metal polishing material. Now in this case, the cap band actually does come off because the cap material has shrunk just enough that it allows me to slide it off ever so carefully. The cap band itself is a little bit thicker than the material on the Majestic band. This is much sturdier. It's a thicker tube stock, and it's not fragile at all. I can squeeze it a little bit and it doesn't get out of round at all. And when I put it back on the cap, it clicks just ever so lightly. The problem with the Majestic cap band was that it was so thin and so fragile that even just a little bit of pulling caused it to break. It's still full speed ahead for me on the Majestic restoration. I'm just going to end up with a cap that doesn't have a band, although it does seem to have a little bit of fuzz there. That's all right. Other than that, it's going to be perfectly fine, and perhaps someday I may pay someone to actually swage a new band on it, but that's a pretty labor-intensive and time-intensive activity. So that's going to be something I consider for the future, because a Majestic, as nice of a pen as it is, it's not an expensive pen, and something like that would be completely out of proportion to the sale value of the pen. If there was some nostalgic value, then I would consider doing it. And maybe I'll change my mind at some point and do it anyway. But it doesn't affect the writing. It doesn't affect the restoration. So I'm going to keep on keeping on. And I'm grateful that my blunder caused me to give everyone a little bit of a teaching moment and explanation for how cap bands work. So see you next time.